MJ Clemenco here, psychotherapist, hypnotherapist, and life coach. Tonight I'd like to talk some about alcoholism and addiction, not food addiction. I'll talk about that a different time. But with alcoholism and addiction to drugs, any kind of drug, including prescription drugs. Sometimes people get addicted because they've been prescribed something. They had surgery or they have something that their physician thinks that they need stronger pain relief than over-the-counter medication. And it isn't hard to get addicted to that. Alcoholism, I think everybody knows that some people can drink and some people can't drink. There seems to be a genetic component to that. Also, I believe it's learned behavior. And what I mean by learned behavior, both with drug addiction and with alcoholism, is that a child grows up in a family, and how that family deals with stress and feelings is how the child is likely to deal with stress and feelings. That doesn't mean if the parents are alcoholic that the child is going to be alcoholic. The parents could be alcoholic and the child could be turn into a drug addict. The parents could be alcoholic and the child could be perfectly fine. We don't know what that triggering mechanism is. But what I believe is that children learn how to cope from their family of origin, whether that's mom and dad, or mom and mom, or dad, or grandma and grandpa, or a different kind of setting. It's the family that the child grows up in. And very often, families don't have good coping mechanisms. They don't have ways to handle stress. The child may grow up watching his or her parents screaming and yelling at each other as a way to communicate. Parents using substances themselves. So the thing about addiction is that it is a way to not feel negative things and a way to feel positive things, at least for a while. Because it doesn't last. I mean, it can last for a while, but eventually it's going to damage your brain. It can damage other organs in your body. Alcohol can damage your heart, well, as can drugs, but alcohol destroys the lung muscles in your body over time. The thing that's important to recognize is if you're struggling with alcohol or some kind of drug addiction, you didn't wake up one day and decide, oh, I can't think of anything better to do with my life. I think I'll be a drug addict, or I think I'll be an alcoholic. I think how you learn how to cope as a child is part of it. That if you don't have good coping skills, it's going to be easy for you to drink in order to not feel negative things, or to use a drug in order not to feel negative things. And also to feel happy or positive things. And like I said a moment ago, it does work for a while, but eventually it will fail. And as they say, you'll be chasing that high, and there won't be enough of whatever your drug of choice is to have the same effect of creating happiness and numbing out pain or fear or anxiety. So it's imperative that you learn how to cope, and that you learn that that's something you don't know how to do. I'm in favor of AA and NA, and I'll tell you why. I hear time and time again about the God thing. Okay, lots of people don't like the God thing. Nobody in AA, in the organization of AA, says you have to like the God thing. But what they ask you to do is believe in something other than yourself. I mean, since you haven't been doing a very good job of it, I wouldn't think that's a hard thing to do. Some people choose to call it God. They end meetings with the Lord's Prayer. It is a way of getting outside of oneself, away from one's ego. It is not that anybody is expected to embrace any kind of spirituality. What is true is it's important to be able to do certain things, like turn it over to your higher power is a common term. And what that means is, if you're clean and sober and something is really bothering you, if you can think of something outside of yourself to mentally turn it over to, you can let go. You can understand that tomorrow is another day. If you do nothing, things will get better. And nothing includes not using or drinking. So, in many ways, AA and NA get a bad rap. The organization does not advocate God in one way or another, but they do advocate that you designate something outside of yourself. I read in a book once that someone designated a tree as their higher power because the tree was standing and they weren't. Okay, that works. That's good. The other thing that I think is important about AA or NA is that it creates another family. You didn't have a healthy family, probably. It's unlikely that you came from a really healthy family and developed an addiction to something. It can happen, but that's not usual. When you join AA or NA, you join another family. And that's why I think it's important to shop your meetings. Go to several meetings. Don't stick with a meeting where you feel like you can't relate to the people. It's okay. There are thousands of meetings all over the country, all over the world, every day. In your community, there are meetings, a dozen meetings probably, every week or more. So if you get to the place where you just are sick and tired of being sick and tired, and you really want help, you can go to a therapist, and that would be a good thing. But you can also join AA or NA, or at least try it out. Nobody's going to lock the door on you. You don't have to stay. But if you're listening to me now, you have probably reached a point where your life is not working for you. Or you know someone whose life is not working for them. And when you join one of those organizations, you learn how to cope with stress. You learn how to feel pleasure without ingesting a substance. You learn things that you either never learned or you forgot a long time ago. And it's really important that you have a community of people, of like-minded people. It's very difficult, if not impossible, just to quit an addiction cold turkey. Some of the drugs are so powerful, like methamphetamine is so powerful, that it's very, very difficult to recover from it. What methamphetamine does is it destroys the dopamine receptors, because methamphetamine floods the brain with dopamine, and the dopamine receptors eventually get burned out. So it's very hard to feel pleasure in early sobriety. You need to learn how, and you can do that in your new family. And if you have shopped around to various meetings until you have found a meeting or two where you can relate to the people, where you like those people, you then continue to go back, even when it's hard, because there is a better day, there is a better life, there is a better way. And like I said, you don't have to stay. Nobody's going to lock you in. You have your whole life ahead of you, or you have a little bit of life ahead of you if you're 70 or 80 or Maybe you have a little bit of life of you if you're 20. None of us knows how long we're going to live. But I know that if you use a substance over time, you're shortening your life. And I know that a lot of people make excuses for not going to a group where they can lean on each other, where they can help each other, where they can have a healthy family that they can join, that's not going to judge them, that's not going to criticize them. And that's the really wonderful part. It's a place where nobody's going to put you down or make fun of you. You can say whatever is on your mind, maybe learn to tell the truth for the first time in your life. You can be better. You can get better. You deserve to give that to yourself. And if you are watching this and you are not the addict or the alcoholic, but you know someone who is, Al-Anon is a very good group to teach you how to cope with somebody that you care about or you're close to who has a problem with addiction or alcoholism. I mean, when I say addiction, I include alcoholism. Sometimes we don't know what enabling is, what enabling isn't. How much do we help? How much don't we help? One thing that's true for sure is nobody can help an addict or an alcoholic until they decide they want to help themselves. It's a critical thing to remember. If the addict or alcoholic doesn't want to get better, if you are the alcoholic or the addict, and you're not finished, you're still not ready, maybe you're contemplating getting ready, maybe you're looking at this tape because you're thinking about it, you want to get some information, and that's great. I'm here to tell you, you can have a much better life. All you have to do is stick with it. And the next day comes, and the next day comes. If you just don't use today, your life is going to get better, and you're going to be a lot happier. I can guarantee that. Until next time, good night.